Welcome to another Gaspesian Better Living chat. This is a place for you to sit back, to learn, to discover, to experience, to enjoy, and meet some really interesting people. And these series of informal conversations are topics that we hope that will help us to discover some of our interesting Gaspesians and learn what they do and see what they enjoy, and maybe a place to tell stories, a place to connect, a place to come home to. Storytelling has always been an important part of our lives as Gaspesian. We have so many stories, and we grew up in our families with sitting around. I know, like as a child, I grew up in a home where storytelling was really, really important. I would love to hear the adults tell stories. And those stories stayed with us. And as I'm sure they stay with you, because if you ask anybody, I'm sure they can come up with a story that they heard as a child and how much it's still important. And we all like to go back to our old stories or new stories, which is why we love a good movie. So today I thought that we would ask a storyteller and a writer to join us in our chat. Jennifer Leanne Willett is an amazing writer, as well as a storyteller who can bring a story to life. She just has a way of weaving words together that makes it so much more interesting. So Jennifer, I'm really, really glad that you could join us here on another one of our chats. Could you just tell us maybe a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Mary, and I'm happy to be here. Hello to everybody out there. Yeah, sure. I am a project and activity coordinator for CASA. I also have my own company where I teach English as a second language and I do translations. I am also a driver's ed teacher, so I get to show the kids what not to do on the road. I like to volunteer and I live to write. Writing is my passion, so I write every day.
Yeah. But why is writing and storytelling important to you, Jennifer? Why?
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
That's really hard to explain from a personal point of view, because for me, it's who I am. I can't change it even if I wanted to, which I don't. But I think it's a personal thing. Everybody might have a different reason for it. But let's look at it this way. Let's say that you saw the sunrise and I saw the sunrise. We're each going to have our own version of that. But when you're reading about the sunrise and the way the light reflects on the waves, dances on the waves, and that, you become a witness to that story or a part of that story. You feel a part of that. And for the writer to have the power to do that, to bring the reader into the story, is just, it's just wow. And I like to do that. I like my stories to bring the so the reader feels like they are a part of the story or witnessing the story unfold from a hidden place or something where they can see what's going on.
Yeah, and like I say, you're really good at it, Jennifer. But
Thank you.
Why do you think that we know that we're in a downtime where people are spending more time at home. We're watching maybe a bit more Netflix than we should, etc. But why do you think that sharing our family stories maybe is a good thing to do at this time?
Basically, because we have the time to do it now. That's one of the reasons it's a good thing to do. Another thing, I don't know if you heard this story before, but the first time that I heard that somebody got an orange for Christmas and they were so excited about that, I'm like, really? Is that what it was like? Because it was kind of hard for me to comprehend, because that's not what it was like when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And if we don't share our family stories, how are the younger generations going to know what it was like? How are they going to learn to appreciate what they have today compared to what was it, let's say they accepted in 23 or something. We have to share. It's our responsibility to share our past with our future generations. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be your family. It can just be somebody, I don't know, you're in this group and you have contact with teenagers or something. You decide you want to share with them what it was like for you growing up, because you don't want that. You want them to know what you went through to get them where they are today. So that also becomes educational as well.
Yeah. It's very true, and we can change how people think, and we can by through the use of stories. You know, and I think
Mhm.
that stories also make us stronger because it gives us a sense of who we are and where we came from. And for sure, Gaspesians, as I was saying, Gaspesians, I mean, the Gaspe Coast is full of stories, and there are so many stories that are waiting to be told. And we've had these conversations before, Jennifer, where
Yeah.
we are going to work at trying to bring forth some of those stories in some way. Because if we don't, some of those stories are going to be lost. And like you
Yes.
say, it's our responsibility as Gaspesians, as all together, that we bring forth our family stories, you know? So then, Jennifer, maybe this is a good time to ask you to maybe tell us a good Gaspesian story.
My, there are so many of them out there, and there are so many stories waiting to be discovered that we know just a little bit about, but we need to
Yeah,
know a lot more about.
definitely.
One of my other passions is I love pirates. Who doesn't love a good pirate? I
We
mean,
all love them.
seriously, we all love pirates. And a friend was telling me about pirates, so I thought, I must look into this. And I look into it, and I found something that I'd never even heard of before. Being Gaspesian, being here my whole life, and I had never heard this story before, and I was totally drawn to it right away. And it's about Duval's treasure. I don't know if you've heard of that,
No.
but Captain Duval was a pirate, and it's really, really cool because he ended up at Percy Rock, and he wanted to hide his treasure, as all pirates do. Normal pirates would just bury it in a hole, right? And put a little X on a map and that. This guy did it a little bit differently. He actually decided he wanted to bury his treasure on top of all things, Percy Rock. So
Whoa.
he had a First Nations friend who seemed to know a little bit about the rock, and he said that yeah, he could find a way up the rock because people had tried to climb the rock and they'd fallen off and they died and all of that. So this First Nations friend of his found a way going through the bigger cavern, because in those days there was more than one hole in the rock, and he got up and then he sent down the line, and Captain Duval had brought two prisoners with him. So he had the prisoners go up too, and then he was the last one to go up, and he went up the line with his treasure. They buried the treasure there, which is just unbelievable in itself. Why anybody would even think to bury a treasure on Percy Rock? I'm like, wow. Then when they came down, Captain Duval came down, his First Nations friend came down, nobody else came down. So what happened to the two prisoners? When Captain Duval came down, his sword was bloody, which leads us to believe that we pretty much know what happened to the prisoners. Legend says, there are two versions. Legend says that these two prisoners were killed on the rock so that their spirits would stay there to guard the treasure. The other story is that they got down somehow, but I prefer to believe the interesting one, that he left them up there to guard his treasure. And then apparently his ship sunk that night. So I couldn't find any information as to where, as if somebody had found the treasure or not, but people had tried to go back up. And because so many people were falling off at that point in time, it wasn't long after that that it was outlawed to climb the rock.
Whoa.
Is legally allowed to go up on the rock to look for this treasure.
So therefore,
Story of many. There are probably hundreds and hundreds of pirate stories we could find along the coast, and that is one of my new things now, looking for more.
oh, that's wonderful. So Jennifer, so you've left us then with the idea that maybe on top of Percy Rock, there's a treasure buried,
Yeah,
but
and
we'll
where
never
I got
find
my
it.
facts for the story comes from an issue in Maclean's magazine, 1921.
Oh, they published that in
This took
Maclean's.
place, this took place instead the 1700s.
Whoa. That's what I mean. The Gaspe Coast, this is a treasure trove. Sorry for the pun,
Mhm.
but this is a treasure trove of stories. And yes, there are so many pirate stories on the bay because we do know that pirates traveled these waters here, like in the Bay of Chaleur where we both live. The pirates travel that. And so that's what I mean, Jennifer. I know we seek a lot and we're a little bit lazy these days and we kind of go towards television or renting or movies or whatever to get our stories, but they're already here. And I think that your story has sparked an interest in let's dig out some more. Let's find more stories.
Yeah. You know how everybody's talking about the seniors residences nowadays, right?
Yeah.
They should be talking about them for another reason as well, because those people that live in those senior residences are the holders, the keepers of our stories.
Yes. It is
We
so
should
true.
be visiting them to get stories. We need to know more about our past, about the Gaspe Coast, about ourselves, who we are, where we come from, why Gaspesians do what they do, and all of that.
And I think that when everything is opened up again, I think that that would be really good projects, not only for adults, but for children as well.
You remember they used to have the show and tell in schools?
Yes.
They didn't have it when I was there, but I read about it somewhere. Uh, Instead of bringing in, let's say, your parent to talk about his job as a construction worker, why not bring in your grandmother, your grandfather, or your great grandmother, grandfather to tell your friends what it was like back in the day for them? Because a lot of people did not get on a school bus and drive 5 minutes playing on their iPhone going to school, right? It was not even always that there was a horse and buggy. Sometimes you had to walk miles and miles to get to school, and that was no matter the weather. So you
Yeah.
can just imagine walking, let's say 5 miles, you're 7 or 8 years old, and you have the horrible winds and, the weather that we get sometimes in the winter. And just that in itself, there must be so many stories about that.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up hearing my mother talk about those kind of stories, going to school, and then once they got to school, how cold it was. The schools were not heated very well. So that's what I mean, Jennifer. So I think that one of the things that we all can do in the summer ahead is maybe search for more stories, whether they're pirate stories or whether they're, let's call them true stories about people living here on the coast, to find, and they're so enjoyable. Jennifer, I really thank you for coming letting us talk this afternoon. Maybe that you'll come back. Maybe if you can go and find another good pirate story or something like that, since you're going to be researching them and maybe writing more about them. Maybe, Jennifer, we can get together at another time and have another chat and maybe tell another good story.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's really good. So, folks, that's it. Again, these, as I was saying at the beginning, these are informal chats, and they're just meant for us to get to know each other more and find out something to do. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you'll come back next time. Yes, go right ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I'd just like to say one thing. If anybody has any really good stories that they think
Oh,
shared, I would definitely appreciate hearing about that. And I'm sure Mary would as well.
yes, definitely. And another thing, Jennifer, since you write so much, if anybody has family stories that they would like to maybe get written down, maybe that would be something that you could do. Because I know that I know that you do a lot of writing and you're a freelance writer. So maybe that's something that they could get in touch with you for too, because sometimes people like to have their stories recorded or written
Mhm.
down. So that would be something maybe that they could get in touch with you too if they have some family stories that they want to.
Yeah, and to be honest, what's a better gift that you can give your child or your grandchild than a piece of their own history?
I totally agree with you, Jennifer. I totally agree. Because once they're written down, we get them, we get to keep them and we get to pass them on. Very so, it's
Mhm.
very true. Thanks, Jennifer, for reminding us of that. That's a very good idea.
Thank you.
So that's it for now. Until next time, let's gather our stories and let's be good to each other here at home on the Gaspe Coast. Take care, and until next time, bye for now.